If you ever had CPR training or worked as a lifeguard, you probably didn't think twice about the dummy you were working with. As it turns out, the face of the widely manufactured rescue dummy is the face of an actual human being. The anonymous girl in question is known as the Woman of the Seine, and she was drowned in Paris in the late 1800s. Her murderer was never discovered, but her beauty became more famous post-mortem than it ever was during her lifetime. The coroner her body was taken to was so mesmerized by her face that he had a plaster cast molded after it. The beautiful mold didn't go unnoticed, and many others made the same creepy order. Having a mask based on the mystery girl's face became a huge trend in France and Germany, and for a long while it was quite a morbid must-have accessory. The trend eventually died off, and it was a Norwegian toy maker who brought it back into circulation when he decided to make the CPR dummies by using that same old mold. One of the most infamous moments in modern history is definitely the assassination of John F. Kennedy. The event was recorded, and the video has been scrutinized numerous times. During the thorough analysis of the footage, all persons captured on film were investigated for their potential involvement, but two of them were never accounted for: the famous Babushka lady and the Umbrella Man. The Umbrella Man is seen in quite a few photographs from that day and present on video footage taken from certain angles. What is particularly curious about this man is the fact that he held his umbrella throughout the entire event, even though the sky was clear and there was no reason at all to anticipate rain. He held his opened umbrella high during the very shooting, but it was seconds before the president was shot that he spun the umbrella clockwise. After the assassination, the man sat down on the sidewalk. After a while, he got up and went to the Texas School Book Depository. All this time, he and his umbrella were inseparable. His identity has never been discovered. The Tiananmen Square protest of 1989 was a student-led protest in Beijing. The protest turned into a massacre after the Chinese sent in the military in order to enforce martial law. The military was heavily armed, and they didn't hesitate in using rifles and tanks against unarmed civilians, out of which the majority were high school and grade school students. The morning after the major bloodshed, a man was seen standing in front of the column of Chinese Type 59 tanks, blocking their way. The tanks tried to avoid the man, but he kept positioning himself in such a way that he prevented their advancement. The incident was largely reported, and there are many photographs which depict the bravery of the man, now largely known simply as the Tank Man. His identity was never discovered, nor is it known what happened to him after the famous stunt he pulled. There is only one man in US aviation history who hijacked a plane and got away with it. In 1971, a man who went under the alias Dan Cooper hijacked a Boeing 727 between Oregon and Washington. He extorted $200,000 in ransom, which is the equivalent to $1 million today. After he got the cash, Cooper proceeded to parachute out of the plane. Even though some speculate that surviving such a fall with so much weight strapped to the body is impossible, Cooper has never been found, living or dead. The FBI pursued the case relentlessly and meticulously went over approximately 1,000 suspects, but the real Dan Cooper has not been found to this day. It is a rare example of the perfect crime. The Zodiac Killer is a serial killer who copied the best. Following the behavior of Jack the Ripper, the Zodiac Killer communicated with the police department, teased and taunted them, bragged about the huge numbers of people he had killed without being caught, and invented his own alias for them to use. The Californian police never managed to catch the killer, nor figure out who he actually was. The Zodiac Killer claimed to have killed 37 people, although 7 is the number of victims the police have conclusively identified as his. The Zodiac Killer was after couples in and around California. His signature was leaving behind cryptic notes. The Zodiac Killer was sloppy only once, leaving a survivor behind, who offered the police a physical description of the killer. However, the description only led to the arrest of false suspects, and the murderer himself has never been caught.